All right, so I want to talk about Achieved's transition from star player, top fragger, probably top teabagger, who knows with Merc on the roster,
Top shagger, top fragger, top teabagger. Ah! That's why!
into a more consistent player who gets less significant numbers, but he gets consistent numbers as a foundational core of TSM so that Bolo and Merc can pop off, and when they have their off games, Achieved is in a position to keep the team at a solid fundamental level and that their performance doesn't tip too far down because a star player is underperforming. This isn't to say that he has lost all his ability to be a star player, as there are still games where he takes over the match or the map. However, when Achieved first made it into Pro League after like his fifth year of Challenger League, he made it on a team called Accelerate Gaming, and they were pretty notorious for having a really bad record. It wasn't until the second half of the split when they picked up Tomas and Pojoman as a coach where they really started to have results turn around, and even then, they barely avoided relegation. Tomas definitely helped them when he was picked up. That gave them a little bit more firepower, and then Pojo came in first as a coach and then as a player. But the Accelerate Gaming roster was seriously lacking in firepower. The roster was achieved Biologic, Schlongy, Crusher, and Nyx. And quite frankly, outside of Achieved and Bio, I'm pretty sure was the IGL, but Achieved was the only one who had like fragging power able to compete in Pro League. And then he was able to do more than that and really try and pick up the rest of the squad and pull them to a W. It just didn't work most of the time because he couldn't do all of the work. Tomas helped with that, and you can see that when he was picked up, matches were closer, and the fragging on Accelerate was a little bit more dispersed, at least a little bit. It wasn't all unachieved. And even in Challenger League, this was the case where Achieved was kind of hard carrying the roster up to this point because he was sick of Challenger League. He was in there for 5 seasons. He wanted out. He wanted to be pro. And then he did it. And then he tried hard carrying them alone. Achieved was this star player who dropped massive numbers all the time consistently. In fact, he still shows flashes of that, as I alluded to. He can still take over games. It's just he doesn't need to anymore. Achieve doesn't have to be the star player because he has people like Bolo and Merc, even Geo at times, sometimes even Pojo. The point is, he has a way more firepower on his squad, so he doesn't have to be the sole hard carry. In fact, it's better for him to not be a hard carry and not have that mentality. Because a hard carry's mentality is, you give me the resources and I will win. You can kind of see this with Merc. You give him the information, he will entry for you. So also with Bolo, although Bolo's more of a second entry, just kind of put it in clutch situations because he can consistently win them. Bolo and Merc get most of the resources because they are the star players of this roster, and as a result, other players have to get less resources. Pojo is a big one. Pojo gets bad stats because he's giving everything to everyone else to enable them. There are times when he gets over aggressive, but I think that's just a personal thing that he probably is well aware of and was working on. That was just an observation I had noticed from last season. But regardless, especially with the pickup of Geo, TSM has a lot of firepower, and it doesn't need Achieve to be popping off to the same level. Rather, they need someone who can consistently get that one or two kills every round when needed and clutch up and pick up the team, but only when other people aren't able to do so. They don't need 3-star players, they need 1.5 in Merc and Bolo, and then Achieve to just be a rock. Geo Achieved and Merc, or Geo Achieved and Pojo are the rocks of TSM. They set the foundation so that Merc and Bolo can pop off in a way that benefits the team, and you can really see that. And Achieved isn't a worse player for doing so, and this transition was a necessary one. As far as I'm aware, he's either like IGL or like secondary caller with Pojo. So he's already in a position of responsibility in a role or job outside of like the play Buck. He's in a role where he has to have more authority and kind of tell people what to do and use more of his brain for for less in the moment things. So as a result, you can't expect someone like that to be entry fragging or hard carrying because that's unrealistic. It's why IGLs are traditionally the players that underperform because they have to manage everything else except for the shooting. And Achieved clearly can still shoot, it's better if he doesn't have to do that 24/7. Anyways, this is just an interesting transition I noticed since Achieved has gone from this really strong hard carry into a more consistent but less flashy player, except when need be. Anyways, that's all for now. Peace.